So, Olga, the floor is yours. Good evening.
Good evening.
More Athena alumni talk. I will provide the floor to our colleague Olga from the Vilnius Tech University in order to present the today's speaker. So the floor is yours, Olga. Thank you.
So hello, everyone. So as Konstantinas said, I am from Vilnius Tech University, and I work in the Strategic Partnership Center, and I am responsible for working with our alumni. So today it's a pleasure for me to introduce you our alumni Dalius Grakavinas, who has finished bachelor studies in electrical engineering and telecommunication engineering master studies. So Dalius is now working in industrial robotics sphere. So it's just a short introduction of him. And I would like Dalius to start his presentation and to talk more about his studies and his career. So Dalius, now the floor is yours.
Thank you for watching it, Olga. And yeah, it's really an honor to start this discussion, even from Vilnius Technical University. So I'm proud actually that our alumni community can join Athena group. So you know, it's I was just thinking how to introduce myself, and probably the best sentence that I heard about myself is just robot missionary on the scooter. So I like scooters, and I'm driving Vespa scooters, and I'm really fond of this. And by the way, I'm also working in robotics field. So actually, you know, from taking back to my school, I was really interested in technology, and I was fond of getting how things are working. Usually I get them apart, but it was a struggle to get them together. But actually it came from my childhood, and so actually after finishing my school, I just started to study automation engineering at Vilnius Tech University in 2000. And yeah, so I finished the bachelor there, and during my studies I went for Erasmus studies to Norway, where I was studying actually one semester for electrical engineering. And when I returned back, I just thought that it would be good to finish up and to get more details actually in industrial communication. And then I just joined master studies in Vilnius Technical University in 2006 and finished it. By the time I was studying in Vilnius Technical University, I also was working in parallel, and I was working in semiconductor field, mainly as a salesman actually for semiconductors and microcontrollers. And yeah, so if just taking, you know, the education, so maybe 10 years after finishing my master in Vilnius Technical Universities, I entered, let's say, a business school in Lithuania just to get, let's say, shape my software skills. Not software, but soft skills, actually. And I studied there for nearly 4 years. It means that I was doing it with long pauses during my career, but I ended up last year, and actually I was writing a master thesis on let's say enablers and barriers of industrial robotics adoption in our Baltic market. What are the reasons why industrial robotics is not so popular in our region? And yeah, this was the case. So last year I just finished up the master in business administration. And just maybe to summarizing it up, so I'm currently working already. I just counted it that I started my career in 2005 in technological sales. And now is 2023, so it is nearly 18 years I'm, you know, dealing in sales of technology. And, you know, my inspiration in this sales is just creating the value by technology. It is quite interesting for me. And probably I would describe it like this: my career and my let's say journey towards taking part in KUKA. So I took this, let's say, challenge working in KUKA 2.5 years ago, and I was participating in some kind of let's say in some kind of trials regarding this work, because from the point where I was preparing for the pitch for getting this work position, I was checking our market. And, you know, from my side, I was checking and I saw that the statistics of the Baltics in robotization is something like 4 times less than European average. And I said, whoa, it's great, you know, good business. There is a lot of potential. But also I took it as a granted that it is some kind of a missionary as well, you know, because you need to know why there is such a situation with our local businesses, why our production is not so robotized as, you know, as in Europe. So I took this challenge, and I also tried to, let's say, analyze it during my master studies in business administration. So that was my master thesis. Yeah, basically that's it, Olga. That is my journey to Korea.
So thank you very much. And maybe some of the listeners have any questions.
I have some questions.
Yes.
You know, always I like, you know, I have questions because I really enjoy, you know, this kind of talks. I think that they are very helpful, not only for the students, but also for the academics and the governance of the universities as well. So Dalius, first of all, thank you, and Olga for this contribution, and George also for organizing these activities. I have, you know, various questions listening, Dalius. The first question that I have, Dalius, you mentioned something very important, and I would like to hear from you your opinion. During your studies, you moved from Lithuania, if I listen well, to Norway. So definitely you have experienced some cultural differences. You need to adapt to the new environment. Can you tell me 2 things? How did you face the first challenges? Because this will be a good message for the undergraduate students. And what is the main benefits that the internationalization of your studies reflect to your future career later on?
Okay. So maybe I will start with the last one, with regarding the main topic that I would like to highlight, why it is so important to, let's say, for me personally, to study Erasmus actually abroad. I would rather say that I really gathered a lot of points of view from different, let's say, opinion formators, means that from different mentors and so on. So I was not stuck in the bubble in Lithuania, but rather than, you know, getting the experiences of mentors in Norway. And also what I experienced that, you know, the businesses or the industry is quite different in Norway. And when we are approaching the universities with some kind of topics for the let's say bachelor thematics and so on, so it was really nice to see that there is a difference, and this showed me that, you know, the world is quite colorful. Not only bubble in Lithuania, that, you know, we have several industries that are the main leading, but you can see the industries like military in Norway, and something like, you know, food processing like fish and so on, shipyards that really needs for automation. So you can get touch of this, you know, quite close touch of the industries, different industries that you can't do in Lithuania. Another point that I would like to highlight, it is still the language. So when you're traveling abroad, and I was, you know, struggling with my English actually, and believe me, with Norwegian, that was just a disaster. But let me take it that way that, during this 5 months of studies, we learned about the Norwegian culture. So we see what holidays they are, celebrating, what drinks they are drinking, food enjoying, and what are the traditions actually in their country, and how it differs from our side. And also I improved my, let's say, language skills, English skills, because, all the topics were just teach or taught in English language, and part it was taught actually in Norwegian language, because as far as I remember, it was in 2003, and it was just a start for Lithuania for Erasmus classes. Means that exchange just started, and I think we were nearly the first ones who traveled from our university to somehow abroad with this Erasmus program. So not all the material was prepared in English, translated. So part it was in Norwegian. So it was just quite a good push just to learn a bit more Norwegian and communicate internally. So I would rather say that a lot of different point of views actually, and getting a close touch to different industries, learning the language and seeing actually the cultural differences, and not only seeing, but taking it in consideration that in future, if you are working in some kind of international environment, for example, if your boss will be a Norwegian and maybe, I don't know, an operator will be somewhere from Lithuania, and other stuff will be from around the world. So, you just get how to deal with it in the best manner. So you understand and admit that there are cultural differences, different languages, and way of different traditions. So that's really good, I think. I would rather encourage each of a student at least once per studies to travel abroad and to see a wider picture of the world.
Excellent. And if I may continue, is the following. You mentioned something about computer skills or robotic skills. You mentioned something that you would like to indicate that these are not technical competencies, but are a group of soft skills related to your profession. Am I right? How did you name it? Computer skills or robotic skills? You mentioned something.
Yeah. So basically, in Vilnius Technical University, I was, let's say, learning more hard skills, I would rather say, something like project management, engineering, let's say planning, all these hard skills. And I really need to improve my soft skills, because when you're dealing in the business, means that you need to communicate, to network, to lead the team and so on. So you need a different set of skills, and that I call soft skills, which I learned actually in another university where I was studying, let's say, business administration.
Excellent. I totally agree with you that, this part of power skills or hard soft skills, it's the first time. That's why I asked you. You mentioned it like computer skills, but it was easy to understand what you are not telling about. Hard skills is very important for any science and any citizen, I would say.
Yeah.
And my last question, I have two more. I mean,
Okay.
you can interrupt me if other people they have questions.
Yeah.
Is like, as a graduate student, as an alumni and a professional, as a professional right now, what are your suggestions to the Vilnius Tech governance to correct or to integrate? What are your suggestions from the market point of view, and going back and compare what did you need and what the university offered? Because right now, yesterday we had a very nice talk about micro-credentials. And from the market point of view, they used to say, a lot of people, you don't need to study, 5 years in order to address the market needs, or, what we need as an industry. So what is like your suggestions to the universities right now?
Okay. So, yeah, just frankly, I would rather say that probably as an alumni and in several let's say, moments of my life, I would like to improve my soft skills. And if the technical university can provide it as a mentor or coaching or whatever, that would be really nice. So I would address it. Also, I would even encourage Vilnius Technical University to get, let's say, closer cooperation with the businesses, and just maybe to empower the alumni, or just invite them to, let's say, get some kind of researches for businesses in universities, and to be, let's say, some kind of ambassadors of the university. So I think that the topic is that still the university need to provide the mutual partnership for alumni. Means that the alumni can also just give their own presence actually in the university. Means that sharing some success cases, you know, encouraging the young students to take one or another courses, or let's say studies in engineering, or encourage them. But also the university could also empower alumni to exchange with, let's say, the simple example would be that, you know, that the universities usually they are doing some kind of researches that nobody knows about it. Sometimes they are researching some kind of materials or whatever, and when they find something, probably they are publishing somewhere in scientific journals or whatever, but not everybody from alumni are reading these journals. Sometimes they are quite boring actually, but why not having once or twice per year actually the meeting with alumni, presenting what the university is researching at the moment, what it is interesting, and what it would be, let's say, adaptable for the businesses. I think that would make sense. And yeah, what I was also just experiencing, what would be very interesting, you know, that for alumni, we are typically something ranging from 30 to, let's say, now even 70 years and so on. But let's say, I really sometimes need a support for my, let's say, daughter, or, you know, for my children, how to select the right, let's say, speciality in the university. So, you know, I don't want to be, let's say, directional for my child, but probably that could be a program from for alumni that they can bring their child, and having a day together with, you know, university, and just showing around and so on. And, you know, the father can also exchange their experience about these studies, but I would rather think that alumni or just the university can help, let's say, to decide for the children which specialty to select. I think that makes sense.
Excellent. You know, I will try. You gave me very nice initiatives. So, to be honest, I'm a little bit surprised that in Lithuania, and in Vilnius Tech, that is a very technical university, with the industry of Lithuania very much flourished, especially for computer and lasers. You are one of the reference points in Europe. That still there are a lot of steps to be done in order to bring closer the market and the universities to work together in a converging way and not in a parallel way that in the majority of the case are. Also, very nice proposals in order to organize a joint meeting between, alumni and the researchers in order to discuss what is relevant for them. And also, I will say, on top of what did you say, the open days of the university do not only invite the companies, but invite the alumni with their families in order to be introduced to the campus. And I have a last question, or, like a discussion with you. You mentioned something about robotization. And you mentioned that when you start, I'm not going to ask you when you start because you look very young, but, following your resume, I would say like this happened before 3 to 4 years when you diverted, to this kind of topic, if I remember well from your resume. And you mentioned that robotization of industry, and I will say of society in general, is a little bit lower the impact of robotization compared to what is happening to the rest of the Europe. So I would like now to ask your opinion. What happens right now in Europe? What happens? What are now the figures regarding robotization of industry and society in Lithuania, and what happens in Europe, and what is the reference point in the world regarding robotization? I will suspect it's Japan, but I will leave the answer to you.
Okay. So there are a lot of questions actually, but
I will have I'm
yeah,
like newspaper now.
Yeah, I would like just maybe to give some kind of insights from my master thesis actually. So we were researching what are the enablers and barriers of let's say industrial robotics in Baltic markets, so in Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. And of course, seeing the trends actually, the common trend in let's say in Europe and in the world, the robotization is increasing. Means that currently I think it is around high one-digit number, something like 8 to 9% annually. But of course, in some regions it is much higher. Just taking in consideration that in Lithuania the robotization increased by nearly 20 to 25% per year. Because this was the low start, but what you captured and what I mentioned before that there is some kind of analysis which is made by International Federation of Robotics. They are making this every year, so they are counting how many robots were sold into the particular region or particular country compared to the people that are working in the industry. So, this is kind of a measure that you are not comparing, let's say, China, because they are buying a lot of robots, but compared to how many people are working in the industry. So it is...
so it's a robot per worker.
Yeah. So a robot per 10,000 industry workers. So, and let's say that, for example, in South Korea, we have, so they are the leaders actually in the world. So in South Korea, actually, we have something like around 1,000 robots per 10,000 industry workers. So this is really high, actually. The Europe average is around 125 robots per 10,000 robot workers. So, and in Lithuania, we have something around 30. So it means that 4 times less. So you can imagine that it is quite a big difference.
So the numbers, I just kept to note, because why are you mentioning 1,000 to 10,000 and you don't say 1 to 10? Because if you take the zeros, it's like easier, no?
Yes.
So in South Korea, I kept a note, is 1 robot per 10 industrial workers.
Yes.
In Lithuania is 1 per 30. Am I right?
No, it is, let's say 30 robots you need to divide by 10,000. So it is...
Oh, so it's 3 divided by 1,000.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, in Lithuania. Okay, so you can see here, the difference of robotization, the impact of robotization between this. And this is just, the industrial thing. What about, so I suspect in the society, the numbers in both cases are getting lower because the society follows the industry. And, here is my question. What do we need? How do we need to prepare the society? What kind of soft skills or how the technologies will collaborate with the social sciences and humanistic and, humanities in order to adapt this technology to become, it will become, at the end of the day, all of us will have seen Star Wars, no? Yeah. However, old we are, we have seen Star Wars. What do you predict? How we should educate our people and the citizen in order to be more open and adaptive to robotization?
Okay. So there are several points actually regarding this. I would highlight it that, definitely the working bias actually will move towards robotics, because all this routine and hard mechanical works will be pushed to, let's say, low value jobs will be pushed towards robotics. And I would rather say that it is quite good, because, in principle, people are very creative and and our body is not, let's say, meant to work hard physical works. I would rather say like this. So people should be more creative how to use robotics. And I think with current coming of Industry 0.5, I think they are moving the centric figure of human. So human will be the centric, and all the technologies will be around. So they will help to realize it. Something that, you know, taking in consideration cobots, they are working together with robots, but the human is saying what to do and what not. So I would rather say that it would be, let's say, human-centric. All the technologies will be human-centric, and will be moved towards this, that the human is deciding how to use it in the best way possible. So just taking the consideration, because, you know, our society, let's take the Europe, yes, it is really aging, and means that even with current science, actually, the let's say the lifetime of our people are increasing also. You know, now let's say senior citizens, actually, like 65, and they don't go to pension or whatever, they still want to work. And then you have this kind of sustainability problem, that okay, you can't do several jobs because you are quite old enough, yes? So something like, you know, carrying very hard physical things or whatever. So it can then in these examples, actually, the robot can help them, but they can operate this robot. So it means that, you know, together with the robot, they can handle very, very hard, let's say, movements and so on, but with the help of the robot, not actually apart from it. So it can prolong the working, let's say, period for the elderly people. So it is quite sustainable as well. It is not something that, you know, you can't do this job, so you are fired. But together with some kind of robotic technologies, they can do it together. And, you know, this is quite a social aspect. So which can be, you know, backed up into the equations that we are calculating, that, you know, that, let's say, we are moving towards machines only. Yeah, of course, several works will be handled by the machines, but remember that all these machines will be controlled by people. So
yeah, I mean, this is not the case to the Terminator, but
yeah.
this is true.
And from, you know, from different perspective, actually, there were a lot of researchers from European Union, and actually taking in apart, there was a lot of discussions that, you know, robots are taking the works from the humans and so on. But imagine that the companies, basically major of the companies that invested in robotics, they actually never laid off the people, because they retasked them. Means that the robotics increased the efficiency and, you know, the value added. So there were a lot of works that robots can handle, and this needs to be handled manually. So these people were retasked in another production, let's say, you know, steps. So it was just an amazing, actually, to know about it. And sometimes even, I would rather say that people, we have a lot of examples actually in Lithuania, that they think that, you know, the robot can do everything. Means that, you know, it's just like a science fiction. It came and it changed the work completely. They are thinking about the robot like a human, and sometimes humanizing it. But to say it right, they detect the standard workers, operators, they detect that the robots are not perfect, and sometimes they need a touch of the human. Means that repairing something, adjusting something, configuring, and so on, to get the things going. And they see as a mission, you know, they are higher than the robot, means that they can control it. So they find some kind of you know, let's say, motivation to work with the robots.
Yeah, this is correct. However, you know, I'm going to stop here. Or you know, you are a pool. You know, for me, you are a generator of questions. The way that you reply, more questions are coming, and I would like also to ask you, I mean, the production of robots, and at the end of the day, we are going to reach, what Korea is doing, because we would like to be a competitive economy as well in Europe. We don't want, what is happening now, this transfer of fundings, from Europe to Southeast Asia is something that Europe would like to revert.
Yeah.
So do we need more graduate students with the competencies in robotics? Do we generate enough graduate students with these technical competencies, or do you think now that we will need more and more? This is the case, for example, in semiconductor industry. We don't have engineers in semiconductors. So what is your feeling?
Yeah, I think that we are in really a shortage of engineers. Believe me, it is. When I was, writing this master's thesis regarding the barriers, the competence and the engineers pool is very weak actually. And let's say, take in consideration that our Vilnius Technical University, they are preparing some kind of let's say mechanical engineers or automation engineers. I think it is in maybe 2-digit numbers, something like 20 or 30 per year, probably. Yes, Olga? Yeah, so you can imagine actually that 20-30 of engineers per year to such an industry that and from these 20 to 30 engineers, probably the smartest guy are 10, and another 10 are going somewhere finding their own in the world. So you mean that you have 10 or 15 maximum, and there are a lot of robot integrators that are just cherry picking them. And yes, this really slows down the, let's say, the robotization in Europe. And another thing that, taking in consideration the statistics, how many, let's say, students in the school are selecting these kind of topics like physics, mathematics, it also creates not a bright future actually for engineers. And probably, we are now realized that, I wouldn't say that we get a push into our ass from the China because they are investing in robotization as well. They have a strategy in the country has a strategy for robotization. So, and they
where do they have the strategy? I'm sorry.
For robotization, actually, there is a strategy. Not only, I would rather, Japan has a strategy of robotization for local industries, China as well. So, this is something like a document that government is just publishing, and they are agreeing on it. And all the industries know that our way is only robotization and not something like, I don't know, other ways of. So they see one direction. So yeah, as you mentioned, the lack of engineers, that would be one of the main struggles for the Europe to get more robotized. What else? I would rather think that this Europe still it is quite polarized. Taking this, but I'm not speaking as a company representative, but this is my own way of thinking and what I would like to disclose. I think some countries like Germany, they are quite closed and they are not disclosing, let's say manufacturing not secrets, but they are not very sharing practices that could be adopted in the other European countries. Let me probably put it that way, because if you are sharing this information and you can adopt it in other countries, so they don't need to go through the initial part. So it is just cutting down the investments, error and trial series and so on. So I would rather say that if we had this sharing within Europe, within countries, much more transparent in the industry level, even, and the university level, that would really help us to, let's say, be in the same competitive position as China, South Korea, and so on.
Excellent. This is like a lack, but also opportunity for the universities. That's why I ask you, what is your lack in order to be our opportunity? Thank you, Dalius. I don't have any other questions. I think I asked too many. I provide the floor now to Olga. And
So I see that we have a question, Antonius,
Antonio.
yeah? So you can ask now.
Much for your presentation. I would like to get back to your undergraduate years, and my question has two parts. So the first part is about, did you have the opportunity to participate in any extracurricular activities, for example, a robotics team of the university? And if yes, how did this evolve you through your professional career? And if not, do you think that this new generation that has this opportunity to join a robotics team, for example, is having a competitive advantage against the older generation?
Good question. So answering your question, I would rather say I was not participating in any kind of, how you call it, particular or, sorry, actually, just to take it, but any additional classes of robotics. During my years of studies, I would rather say that in Vilnius Tech we hadn't any robots there. So you know, taking it that way, so there were no classes that you can attend in order to get this kind of, let's say, advantage over elderly people, and taking in consideration the Lithuanian market, I think that we skipped this industry 3.0 due to the Soviet Union and so on. And, you know, that created a quite different pool of the competences in the market. And currently, if we are speaking about a young generation, they have much more, let's say, opportunities and resources to, let's say, to get the technologies adopted in local market compared to elderly people. So, you know, they are just, let's say, formatting their knowledge and competence from the scratch. And the elderly people, they are just still, my personal view, actually, I think that part are stuck in still Soviet Union and so on. So if just to take it correctly, because sometimes I'm visiting, let's say, businesses that are really fond of controlling people. So they have the inertia of controlling people and don't think about the, let's say, technology, how it can help to increase efficiency and productivity in the production. They just still thinking about how to control the people right. So, you know, there are several, let's say, old thinking and new thinking. So I think that the current resources that Vilnius Tech is providing, the laboratories that are with robotics, this is a really huge push towards new generation, and that can, let's say, take the flag and improve the local businesses and production.
Okay.
Can I answer your question, or would you like actually to follow up?
Yeah, I'm fully covered. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dalius. And now George is having a
Yes.
question.
Thank you. Thank you, Dalius, for your participation in this alumni talks. I have two questions that are more or less more technical than previous ones. The first one has to do, if you know, by your experience, through your experience, about the introduction and the adoption of private networks in manufacturing, that is in an industry 4 environment. And the second one has to do with your master thesis. You mentioned your topic of your thesis, and the question is if you used which mathematical tools, if you use some mathematical tools, and more specifically the so-called diffusion models for robotics technology adoption.
Okay. George, if you can just come up with a private networks, you mean 5G networks that?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so I'm not very good actually at this, but actually regarding the communication and all these private networks, I know that some of the production facilities, they are using this LoRa, and
LoRa.
yeah, currently with the step of 5G and with a very strong push from the local operators and networks, I think it should move towards 5G, but not really sure actually, because we have 5G in Lithuania already for 1 year, but it is not so, let's say, as successful in my point of it. So there is still, I think, room for improvements. So so regarding private networks, I would rather say probably that the newest technologies in robotics, let's say taking in consideration this, you know, AGVs like automated guided vehicles,
Yes,
can be used in intra production and intralogistic. Actually, in KUKA, we are developing them already with 5G. So they can be controlled and monitored remotely using the 5G network, not other way. And yeah, and still, what concerns the connectivity to the cloud from the robot, so still we are using 5G and also the standard Wi-Fi, let's say, connectivity, just to monitor if the robots are working, the maintenance, predictive maintenance, and so on. So this is, I don't know if it will help actually to answer the first year question, but in regards to the second question regarding the master and the mathematical models. So as you remember, I was talking that I done master thesis, the last master thesis in business administration, and there is no actually mathematical touch. Let's say it is a soft, but yeah, soft skills actually. But there was, you know, as there were no research done in the Baltics regarding industrial robotics, so we have taken it in qualitative interviews and so on. So we had like 20 interviews, very deep one, from different, let's say, shareholders of the industry, something like, you know, you're taking a university, let's say education, then we are taking the big businesses that have their internal teams of engineers, the small teams that don't have engineers, but they are outsourcing the, let's say, the services by the integrators and, you know, system partners. And we are taking also big and small companies which has zero knowledge actually in robotics and haven't heard about it, maybe only from the movies. So we try to make it very diversified and to grab some kind of information from different shareholders and to see, let's say, some kind of patterns. So I would rather say that our master thesis really creates a lot of questions, but it gives several patterns that we need to move forward to, you know, analyzing it in, I think, quantitative and other way of let's say research.
Okay, thank you, Dalius.
Okay, thank you. Maybe any questions from the audience? Okay, see now. And maybe I would like to ask you more about your career. When you started, was it like hard or easy to find a job? And is it now for the graduates, what could you suggest? What skills do we need to have if you want to start working in the robotics? So maybe it would be useful for the students. So what should you say for them to encourage them to work in robotics?
Okay, so maybe I will take it that way that my first work was something in 2005. Let's say professional work, not something working at the retailer or, you know, pushing TVs or some kind of a food, but just a professional work. So it was in 2005. I was just starting studying master, and I entered the work because, you know, I need money. Actually, it was quite hard actually to find a job. because the businesses they look with criticism actually at the new bachelors and so on that have no experience and so on. So what helped me a lot actually in the first job that I was passing this Erasmus, I had improved language skills, and also that I saw different point of the world and different technologies. So maybe that probably answers your first question. But the second question that you raised, I wouldn't say that it is addressed only to robotics. I would rather say that it addresses to the future engineers, that the future engineers should work in the team and not solely. Means that they should know how to work and network with a designer, project management, CEO, CTO, actually know how to network, how to address the exhibitions. I would rather say they should know how to work in the team, because they are particularly very skillful for one particular object or case, and they need at the end of the day, the company creates a product, and a lot of specialists are involved in this creation. Means that a designer, yes, the project manager, the sales manager, marketing, and so on. So they should know how to communicate and how to be in the team. So I would rather say this communication skills should be, so every engineer should have also the soft skills, how to communicate inside the team, and should know how to work in the team. That maybe, I think that is the most important thing actually the current engineers should be taught.
Thank you very much. I think it will be very useful for the students, for graduates. And I see Konstantin has a question. So please, Konstantin.
Yes, thank you for the talk. I couldn't follow the presentation, but I turned in for the discussion. But we were talking about the lack of engineers. And I mean, you told us about the situation in Lithuania, but it's of course the same in other European countries. And also here in Germany, we simply don't have enough students in engineering. So maybe the problem is not in university, but earlier in high school, where the students or pupils, they don't develop enough interest in areas like robotics or engineering. Maybe they think it's too complicated. So do you feel like this is going to change in the future, or do you think that we need to change something earlier in high school? Maybe we teach the wrong subjects there. What is your opinion on this?
Good question, Konstantin. Just I think definitely we should start actually doing it in the school, but not something that with not the sense that, for example, we have a target to have 300 engineers per year and let's farm it. I don't think that is the right way. Probably we need to, let's say, during the school, we need to create the interest and motivation. And if the student is not really good in mathematics, physics, and this is not he is not into the engineering, and that's it. There is no problem actually. He can just go to some creative, specialities and so on. But I would rather say that we should grab these ones, the real gems that really wants to, and they are currently, in the need of explaining where they will use this mathematics that they are selecting, physics and so on, in the best way possible. Because currently, for example, I have a daughter, she's a teenager, and 1 year ago, we had, a headache to select mathematics and not. And I needed to provide her a pitch where she will use it. So it was really hard for me because, these kind of, teenagers, they don't know what they would like to do in the future, because in the previous classes, nobody asked about it. And nobody presented the, different specialities and different, working positions, what they are doing, what they need actually, what topics they are, touching. So, I think that it is not only the case for the government that they need to change the education and so on, but this is also, you know, lies on the shoulders of the businesses, because they need also invest in these, let's say, students in the schools to get their interest and probably even find the gems or the fire in their eyes already in, I don't know, fifth class or sixth class already, and you know, just to support them. Actually, I would rather say that it should start in the school already. And also, you know, of course the teachers should spot it, that he's really good at actually in something like logic, and he likes, you know, let's say technology and so on. He's into this. Another actually, you know, people are more into creation, creative, social, actually networking and so on. So, you know, the teachers can see it already, and they can suggest already that, you know, probably you should take another or additional classes, and maybe to provide some kind of a support from the local businesses, that they can say that, yeah, we see that you have the interest actually in technology. Maybe we can show where it can be realized and what future opportunities can it bring to you. So, you know, so the students and they can have the whole picture of the world where it will be needed actually in the future. Not just talking about numbers, you know, logarithm and functions and so on, but where it will lead us.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome, Konstantin.
Okay, so maybe any other questions? Okay. So I think if there are no questions, we can, I suggest we can finish, I think. Okay. So thank you very much for all the TANA team, for all participants, and for Dalius for very interesting discussion, for participating, our first alumni. So thank you very much. And
Olga,
yes.
I was thinking that probably we can invite Dalius in Crete at the end of May to speak within the framework of what also Konstantin has proposed. I replied to this email, Konstantin, you know, to invite, you know, a couple of people like Dalius to come and share with our students, you know, live, you know, they are.
Okay, that's very nice.
It's not for you, Olga. It's for Dalius.
Yes. Yeah, I know, but I'm happy that you choose our Dalius.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, but for invitation, it would be nice actually being in Greece in May.
In Crete, not in Greece, in Crete, even better, the best place.
Oh. Yeah.
Okay, I will speak with Konstantin and with George, and we are going to organize this in the program.
But this is a good point, because not only pupils but also students, they don't always want to learn from teachers, but also from people who already work in industry. So
that's why I made this proposal.
Yeah, maybe this is a good idea. So we can discuss it, Kostas.
Okay, have a nice night, and we are going to upload the presentation in the YouTube channel of Athena right now.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Okay.
So goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.